Hello, welcome to the Squarebase Show. In this emergency podcast, me and your host, Val Heffelfinger, will be talking about the release of the Renegade factions! Ah! Pretty good. Woo! Pretty exciting.
I mean, that's the whole show, guys. That's the whole show. Good show. That's a wrap. That's a wrap. They're here. The Renegades made it.
They've been released.
It's beautiful.
They've been released.
The most confusing release, non-release, and it may be GW history.
So this is an emerging podcast. Val literally on a Batmobile-like scooter straight from the queue outside Warhammer World where he's been protesting for the Legacy releases to come out.
Right.
And
that wasn't a lineup to get into the launch day. That was a picket line. All right, and you crossed it, Rob, and I'm very offended.
Well, listen, we're going to do a proper big Squarebase show tomorrow live on Twitch if you want to join us on the Old World Gamer. But we are here now. I think I'd like to dive straight in to. We're going to start with the article. So the Old World Almanac is the first thing we're going to dive straight into. This is an article talking about the release of the Old World, and there's loads of things that came up. There's lots to talk about. It's very exciting. I'm going to jump straight from the top. Okay. Yep. For those of you existing collections who would like to jump into the game, here are full Grand Army lists for 7 legacy factions from Warhammer Fantasy Battles. And we're going to look at least what is in these armies. We're not going to deep dive them today. We haven't got 27 hours.
I mean, we could go on to, I don't know, does anyone have a 27-hour clock? Like, we could do it.
we could try. We're getting rules. We've got rules for lizard men, dark elves, vampire counts, ogre kingdoms, Skaven, demons of chaos, and the very real chaos motherfucking dwarfs.
Can we? Okay, so the legend stuff aside, and all of the here, have these rules, but don't use them.
Well,
aside.
There's something
maybe
about
there's something I don't know about. Maybe there's something I don't know. That's sick. See, hot takes. They're dangerous.
These are hot takes.
Can we just please? Can we just say GW said they were going to do this and they did it?
Yeah.
They did. These rules are here. They're here. They said this. I always said they were going to do this. And they did it, and they're here timely. Everyone was like, this could be 6 months. We were hopeful that it would happen, and tip of the cap, this happened.
Good day, my lord.
Good day,
my lord.
All right.
Okay, well, really exciting. So we're going to go through those army lists in a moment, at least look what's in them or what's made it. Okay, so, but we do have, there's an interesting thing. At the top of each one of these PDFs for these different armies, the Renegade armies is what we call them here at Squarebase.
Because I'm a motherfucking renegade.
Bow, bow, bow. Just play some Rage Against the Machine as you read in the rules.
That's Renegades of Funk. I was going with Jay-Z and Kanye Renegade.
Don't think we can do Kanye anymore, R.I.P.
Okay, just the Jay-Z parts? He sings the hook.
Yeah, he was a little bit of he betrayed the Queen, old Queen Bee. So there's a lot to talk about there, unpack. We'll do
that's a long time ago. Queen Bee.
No. There's a whole
something new happened.
Oh yeah.
Something new happened? Oh. No. Okay, God, look, I'm just looking clueless by the second. Let's just get to the almanac. Inform me so that I don't even discredit myself here. Let's go. Let's get informed. Okay, let's go.
Please check out our Minor Vowels and late 90s hip hop podcast coming soon. Right, the rules. So the rules contained within this document. So this is important. The sentence I'm about to read out is at the very top of each one of these PDFs. Okay, so this has clearly been something that they have workshopped, in the studio, something that they've crafted as a sentence. So here we go. Okay. The rules contained within this document allow players the opportunity to try out Warhammer The Old World rules using models they have in their collection. I swear to God, if you buy any new models into your collection,
buy new models.
If you buy new models, get out. They are not intended for use in match play events and will not be updated in line with any future Warhammer The Old World publications. Okay, and that is at the top of each one of the PDFs. When we go through them, you'll see. So I'd like to just say politely, off the top, I disagree. Val, how do you feel about this?
I feel like we should just release our own PDFs. We'll just cut and paste everything except that paragraph.
Yeah.
Job's a good one. Job's a good one.
Yeah, easy peasy. There is something to say here, obviously, as well. And I think when we go and look at the PDFs in a moment, because I've already had a look at them.
So okay, let's in the interest of content, maybe we should pause and discuss this, because breathlessly we have been Legacy/Renegade supporters since this came to be a thing, and we have steadfastly refused to I suppose there's a saying that I'm going to garble, or an idiom that I'm going to garble. When it's something like, if somebody shows you who they are, believe them, something like that.
Yeah, that's fair.
So like they're saying here that
I think that was
will
Kanye.
not be up. Maybe they are not intended for use in match play events and will not be updated in line with any future Warhammer The Old World publications. That is a hard line. Now, they could name the next edition of Old World something else, for example, Warhammer: The Great War Against Chaos, or something like that. But so how seriously, as people who are probably going to listen to us, literally listen to us, and then maybe be like, oh, these guys said it was cool. How fearlessly should we be using these rules?
Okay, well, I think what we should do for people who listen to the Square Blast show, thank you for listening, #SquareBlast, please subscribe, is we should say, if you're just about to jump into the old world, or you've been so excited about the old world because Val and me have made you chuckle your little butts off, and you think, I want to be in those guys' party, I understand, that makes a lot of sense, and I want to buy an army and buy in, I probably wouldn't advise you to pick up one of these armies, because, as Val has pointed out, they might not get as the rules writers have said right here, we ain't going to help you. We ain't going to support you. However, there's a couple of things to say, alongside.
I quibble whether or not this is the rules writers, but anyway, we'll continue.
Whoever, yeah.
Whoever said, yes.
Whoever. It's important to note that I probably would not advise you to go out and buy some ogres to go do this. There's a couple of funny things off the back of that. Number one, these armies that we're looking at now are the most easy to buy armies available for the old world as is.
Yes.
Tomb Kings and Bretonnia
that's a hard piece of advice to give. Yes. All right, continuing. Yes.
Yeah, Bretonnia and Tomb Kings are sold out the world over, unavailable to purchase. You can't buy Wood Elves as an example. So there we go. So you could very quickly pick up an ogre army and go play with an ogre army. Cheaply, but they did obviously address that in the these are rules for your current collection. How dare you?
Yeah.
There is another thing to say to this, I think, before we wrap up not wrap up, but kind of move it on. So I'm going to read that first, if that's okay. These are, however, complete lists and cover more or less every generic character, troop, monster, or war machine that was available to each faction during the final edition of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. As a good deal of care and attention has gone into playtesting and balancing these lists, and each comes with upgrades, magic items, additional spell laws, and army rules. So this destroys kind of the myth or the fear and lots of other stuff that was going around that this was just going to be, literally not very much. These are as comprehensive as the Forces of Fantasy armies and the Ravening Horde armies, as comprehensive. Yes. And dude, what do you think about that?
So that's something we've been saying for a very long time. That's something that we've known through the coffee shop channels, or have been led to believe for some time. This is the first day that I've had personal access to them, just like everybody else. I think Rob is the same. But I want to answer my own question too, because I do feel very good about that. And the reason why also I think I feel very good about that is that it says to me that these armies are good for this edition. Like there's nothing in these things that mechanically won't work at the end of the edition whenever they decide to do that. That could be 3 years, that could be 5 years. Who knows how long it takes for them to move things forward. They just aren't going to be included in extra stuff. So to me, that's not particularly an unusual place for a codex or an army book or a battle tome to be. Some people are winners and losers, especially in fantasy. There would be whole editions where an army book would not be updated. The Bretonians, for example, did not get a book from 6th edition all the way to the end of fantasy. I think the Beastmen weren't far behind that. So the reason why I'm saying all that is I say that it's actually pretty safe to play these armies, because we are speculating, but my suspicion would be that, and now that we're seeing what the old world is definitely a kickoff, and it is set very locally in the old world. These are also, again, if people show you who they are, believe them. They've told us that this is going to be very grounded in the border princes and the sort of geographical area of the old world. And they have also told us that that's not the scope of the setting. The scope of the setting is really the Great War Against Chaos, which is, a world-spanning, a
World of Legend
spanning event that will pull in for like everyone across the entire Warhammer world. Now that may be a long time down the road. Look how long it took them to get to the end and the death in Horus Heresy, though. So that could be a while. But I don't see, aside from them getting stale, or aside from them getting perhaps surpassed by other things happening, aside from them not being able to go to any of the fun campaign parties, I don't see, like based on my Warhammer life, a reason why these rules would be unplayable until an edition changes. And my assumption would be, and this is the assumption part, when the edition changes, it will be down the road long enough that all of these lines are fully released in Age of Sigmar, much like Slaves to Darkness, and they will be able to re-release the older fantasy models as purely old world, or whatever they call that next level, the next step. So I would take the reading in that warning literally. These will not get updates for Warhammer : The Old World. But I would not lose hope for updates in Warhammer : whatever the next edition of the game is.
I agreed with all of those statements. I think also I'd like to just point out very clearly, I have now 4 events booked in at the TSN Arena, all of which Legacy/Renegade, is what we call them, armies, will be legal. Yes. I don't like.
We'll be talking about our format tomorrow, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the elements that are important here is that, for everyone, to take on board, is that I personally would love to play people with all of these different armies. I think the game is healthier and more balanced because there's more of these armies, because there's less singular rock, paper, scissors moments. And I think there's some really interesting stuff to talk about there as well. So it's better to have more of these armies in. It's more creative to have these armies in. It's more engaging. You will bring more players in. So your local communities, your local groups, your tournament organizers, and all those other things. And please do vote with your feet. If people are not allowing Renegade armies into their local meta or groups, then probably just avoid those groups. That's what I'd say. I think that's the healthiest,
as best you can. Or also advocate for them. I think that's all. You could take your ball, go home. Some people don't have that option. I think that there's certainly, in a gaming group, there's no reason why anyone should shun these things. If GW didn't want you to play, these would not be released.
Yeah, they wouldn't be PDFs, right?
These just wouldn't exist, right? They certainly, for whatever reason, and if it makes sense to them, cool. Whatever reason, they don't want you to buy these models, because a lot of them are available right now. You can buy them if you really want to from GW right now, almost all of them. But
no, that's not true. They all sold out. They're all sold out.
Yeah, they're all gone. Yeah, Beasts of Chaos are gone. Also, can probably pick clean.
Can I tell you a funny little moment from this weekend?
Go ahead.
Las Vegas Open for Age of Sigmar, 380 people, top table. The list that almost won, lost by the final grand strategy, was a full steam tank list for Cities of Sigmar.
He did it. He did it.
Yeah, he got so close. He lost. He lost in the.
That's fun.
Right, but so now I'm Old World Empire players and Age of Sigmar players literally battling it out for a steam tank to go with their army. It's a great little story. Okay, so they showcase some rules, but obviously that seems silly when all the PDFs are attached to this. The other important thing here, also they did say they playtested these, and I'm assuming they playtested these in line with all of the other armies at the same time as well. So I feel they're very competent.
This is not insider information at all, right? But my assumption is these were intended to be part of the game. That's my assumption. And at a later basically at a later date, for strategic reasons, business reasons, they chose not to include them in the game. And so we can just leave it at that. But my assumption is that when this game was created, the intention was that they'd be part of it. And I think that's also probably why we're getting them, is because of that. So again, kudos to GW, because a part of them doesn't want to do this. But a part of them does, and so they have released them with conditions, And the good news is we can ignore those conditions. So that's
yeah, and we should all ignore those conditions. Okay, right. So while these are complete lists, there are no plans to release miniatures to use with them. The rules are intended for people who already have armies in their collection. And let's repeat that point. Right, but like, and as Val has pointed out on another show, like there's literally somewhere right now, there's just a guy who owns 12 3D printers in a pub, just having like a midday whiskey. People are like, what are you doing? He's like,
yeah.
A company's just giving me money this year, right?
Well, actually, that's the core factions. Like, they should be cranking out core factions, but like these guys you can buy, but well, theoretically. But yeah.
Not Chaos Dwarfs, baby.
Not Chaos Dwarfs. Yeah, Chaos Dwarfs is the only fully out of print one, but we're going to get, I have ADHD. Continue, Rob. I'm going to try and follow you. Go.
There's an important part to talk about, which we won't talk about on today's show. There's plenty more to come from the World of Legend, and if you have any rules questions, you can email the team. They'll obviously ignore that. They won't respond directly or even read them, but the important part is they will become part of a biannual. Now, unfortunately, me and the chat have discussed this a lot. Biannual could be every 6 months or every 2 years. Pretty certain it'll be pretty certain it'll be every 6 months. FAQ.
That would be semi-annual. Yeah.
Okay. FAQ or errata update. Okay. And there's even an initial list of clarifications available, and there's a hyperlink. But at the time of recording, the hyperlink goes nowhere. So when that does become available, we will make a show about that ASAP, which would be good. So please don't release it at like midnight tonight. Just release it in an hour or so. That'd be great. Okay. So every 6 months, an update. How do you feel about that?
That is a pretty significant commitment to excellence. I'm not going to lie. A 6 month update pace is comfortable to me. I think that is the correct pace. That reminds me a lot of what they've done with Blood Bowl. I feel like they're about semi-annually.
So also Middle-earth strategy bout game.
Yeah, okay, cool. So I think that is a really good pace. So yeah, and the really wonderful thing is if they're planning on managing this game like they do, like they do the other games, playing the Renegade factions at all events that they're following will make it pretty hard for them to balance it unless they accept them. But anyway, yeah, I think that is wonderful. So regardless of the quality of that errata and how hands-on they actually are, that I think is a comfortable pace for a game. Every 6 months is comfortable. That allows you to, to adjust to a meta. If you're an event person, and you adjust to something, in the first 2 months, you still get 4 months to play in it. That's great. I think that is completely reasonable. The quarterly stuff maybe is a little bit too fast. And the good news is that, like, aside from arcane journals and of course campaign books and whatever else they have up their sleeves, new factions, whatever might be coming, they already have the full base, right? Like this base does not change. So that means that this game can really get tuned, rather than having to rewrite. I really feel like this is a game that will subsequently be tuned as things goes on. And that's also so much easier as a person who's trying to engage with the game to deal with. We have a good foundation, and now they're committing to maintaining it, and that's great.
Agreed. Yeah, so FAQ, we'll do that in another show, and we'll deep dive that info, or at least we'll peruse over it. Like, as we know, Old World is massive. So any sort of deep dive that you do, like you've been seeing with the overviews or anything else, or even the Magic deep dive, it's not a small project. All right, so what can you play? Okay, what can you play, or what units have made it into the new Old World? I think we're going to start off with Lizard Men, Lizard Men, if that's cool with you.
It's cool. Also, full disclosure, I have a painted army of every single one of these except Dark Elves. So, I think I should probably disclose that I'm very self-interested in these armies. So continuing to Lizard Men, I'm excited. Let's go.
Okay. All right. So we're going to go straight down and we'll look what's available. So you can have, for characters, a Slan Mage Priest, 0 to 1, whole army. 0 to 1 Saurus Old Bloods or Skink Priests per 1,000 points. And then you can have a Saurus Scar Vet and Skink Chiefs, multiple of either. For Battle Standard Bearer, you can either upgrade your Slan Mage Priest, your Scar Vet, or Skink Chief to be your BSB. And a Slan Mage Priest may uniquely be your army's Battle Standard Bearer and General at the same time. It's kind of like a all eggs, one basket.
That's a thing. Yeah,
so obviously,
that's also a classic thing. Yeah.
Obviously, no name characters. Pull one out for my boy, Lord Croak.
Of course. Yes. Of course.
Of course. Of course. Okay. Yeah. R.I.P. Pour one out. For core, that you have to have a unit of Saurus warriors. Then you can have multiple units of skink skirmishers and jungle swarms, and your temple guard block, one unit of temple guard block, can come out of your core, which is really nice. Really nice. Like that a lot. I've been doing a lot of list building at the moment, and tell you what, like needing core is a bit like, come on, man, don't make me take this. But I understand. For special,
I do like for Lizardmen and 8th also like tended to gravitate towards as many skinks as possible and like away from Saurus warriors. But that was of course unique to the meta at the time. But we'll see what the skinks do these days. But it's nice that like one, Saurus warriors are attacks in this. We'll see how much. And then it's also nice to see that because you often do want to have Temple Guard, that you can apply them to core. So that is good. That's very good.
Yeah, I agree. Temple Guard as core is great. Special, you can have multiple Chameleon Skinks, Crossixor, and Cold One Riders. And then you can have up to one unit of Pterodon Riders per Skink Hero taken. You can have up to one unit of Ripodactyl Heroes per Skink Hero taken. And then up to 2 Bastillodons per 1,000 pointos.
Okay.
So you can have a lot of Bastillodons potentially. And then if you go to rare, you can have up to 1 Salamander or Razordon hunting pack per 1,000 points, and then up to 1 Stegodon or Troglodon per 1,000 points. Those monsters are fairly rare. So what do you think about this so far?
I think it's bullshit.
Please tell me why, because I know why. Come on.
Because there's a great and terrible lizard that cost $1 billion to buy from the studio that made these rules that is not included in this, which actually, this is interesting. We haven't talked about this at all in general. None of the Tamarcon or Monstrous Arcanum units, which are all specialty units made in beautiful resin, with the exception of the Troll Hag, which is coming out in the Orcs and Goblins book, have made it to this level. And that's problematic to me because those are cherished models. Those were expensive models. And of all the ones to not have like legended rules, like those are the ones that should. So hopefully they maybe come out with a Legends of Tamarcon or something like that gives you some rules that you can actually use those models in. Because there's armies, of course, in the core factions too, that have lots of units missing that most and all of them fall into that category. We've only gotten rules for the main studio, none of the Forge World stuff or the Warhammer Forge stuff, to use the correct parlance.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to not sell a Dreadsaurian or Chaos Dwarfs again, as you literally made Chaos Dwarfs as a specialist design studio. And in addition, it's weird then to be like, gleefully, but we did find a Bretonian in a drawer once, so we can sell you that. So yeah, there's some very, very odd situations. I agree.
Because they're all not here, and that includes in the core lists as well. This might be something that would be really important now that we're all like excited and we settled into things. One has to assume that rules exist for them because they're conspicuously absent at this point, and they're not included in these core roster lists. So maybe we'll see like a nice little bone getting thrown down the line that is just a list of units from like the Tamarcon Monstrous Arcanum era. They were they're some of my favorite models. It would be great to have some rules to be able to play with them.
Shout out to Sail the Faithless. Right, okay, so one of the things to point out is that I have had a little look. The Slan does gain access to High Magic, and if you have listened to our High Magic, our Magic Deep Dive, you'll notice how much me and Val both love that. There's also, they've got their own spell lore. They've got 2 different spells, Apotheosis and Moonstone. We won't go through that too detailed. And then they've got a bunch of special rules. Arcane Vassal is back, casting spells through stuff. Nice. There's some obsidian blades, some other bits as well. But again, that's going to require some big deep dives. We'll talk about that in a bit. All right. Moving over to Dark Elves. Delphs. Delphs. Okay, so if you're going to go characters, Bud, you can have up to 1 Dark Elf Dreadlord or Supreme Sorceress per 1,000 points. You can have multiple Dark Elf Masters, Sorceresses, High Beast Masters, Death Hags, and Canine Assassins. And then you can have 1 Cauldron of Blood per 1,000 points, taken as amount for the Death Hag.
Okay.
Spicy. Some good stuff there. And again, all of those models currently available to purchase.
Sure are.
Obviously, no Marathi in there. So missing her. No, I think he's been changed. Malekith
Malarian?
is now Malarian. Welcome to the party.
Yeah.
Yeah, Malekith is now Malarian. Even Games Workshop doesn't want to fight Disney, even them. So that's fine. And then core, you can have multiple units of Dark Elf Warriors, Repeater Crossbowmen, Black Ark Corsairs, and Dark Riders. And if your army includes one or more Death Hags as a general, then Witch Elves may be taken as a core choice instead. Great kits as well, those kits.
Mm-hmm. This was actually probably the most modern model line that they came up with. That made it into the game as far as like their scale, their sculpts, all that kind of stuff. They do fit. They actually fit in very well in AOS because they're very dynamic plastic CAD kits, and almost the whole line is like that. Unlike the High Elves, which were sort of a mix of old-fashioned plastic kits and like some newer kits, this one was all in like almost entirely new.
Yeah.
So it's great. It still looks wonderful.
It does look really, really good. And then in special, you got Harkonneth Executioners, Witch Elves, Dark Elf Shades, and Harpies. You can have 1 unit of Blackguard per Dark Elf Noble taken, 1 unit of Cold War Knights per 1,000 points, 2 Scourge Runner Chariots or Cold War Chariots per 1,000 points. And if your general is a High Beast Master, you can have a War Hydra or a Charybdis even taken as a special choice. And then if you jump over to rare, you got Sisters of Slaughter, Bloodrat Shrines, War Hydras, Charybdis, and Bloodrat Medusas can be taken in multiples. You can only have 1 unit of Doomfire Warlocks per 1,000 points and up to 2 Repeater Bolt Throwers per 1,000 points as well. So a big list of fun units in there. I don't know if there's anything missing from this. Hydras are there. I think that's most close to everything. Just our name characters, obviously.
Yeah, name characters, and I'm not deep on my my Dark Elf army list, so I will take you at your word. This is everything that I'm familiar with. So yeah, if there's someone very much glaringly absent, please do let us know in the comments.
I mean, what's kind of interesting as well is the interaction with the Total War. Total War is almost inherently based around your legendary lord. That's basically how you play. You're like, I'm going to play Tzeentch, but I'm going to start with Kairos. Or I'll play with Village. So and I know that obviously in the Grand Army lists for the Forces Fantasy and the other one, Ravening Hordes, there's no named characters either. So this isn't a thing that they're really doing. And a lot of people didn't like named characters, I think. But it's odd to not, have them, I think, in many ways.
It is, but also I think it's fine. We still have the models, and they can count as all kinds of badass stuff. You can build cool things. I noticed, for example, the Slan Mage Priest could take necromancy, so you can kind of have a Crokian type guy. So I'm not mad about, and it makes sense too because the special characters are really grounded to a particular time and place. So it's okay.
I agree.
I would say though that like the more generic things that are just completely absent and were very expensive and had cool things that they could do, that's a bit more of a bummer. But I think it'll come anyway. Who's next?
Next up is the Vampire Cants.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, this one I'm very excited for.
Okay, all right.
I can't wait to look at this one.
So 50%. So characters, you can have 1. You must have a wizard. Must have a wizard. Then you've got 0 to 1 Vampire Count, Master Necromancer, or Strigoi Ghoul King per 1,000 points.
Yep.
Hello. Then 0 to 1 White King or Banshees per 1,000 points, and then Vampire Thrall, multiple Vampire Thralls, Necromancer, Acolytes, and then White Lords and Cairn Wraiths are all available. Okay. I have one big hope, and it's being pointed out in the chat already. I just want them to not be doing Soulblight Gravelords because they're doing, Vampire Counts. I want them not to be doing Vampire Counts because they're doing Vampire Coast from the Old World, from Total War, sorry.
I mean, that could be a thing. That'd be fun.
That would be fun, right?
That'd be super fun.
That'd be fun. Then core.
Oh, yes, thank God.
What?
Just the Mortis engine did make it as a mount, so that's good. That's okay, cool.
So we've got skeleton warriors, zombies, crypt ghouls, bat swarms, and direwolves. These are all for core, but you don't have to include any of them. In your army includes one or more whites. You have to have up to 1 unit of graveguard or black knights, maybe taken as a core choice. So you don't have any like tax, as in you can choose what core choices you have, which is nice. Then in special, you can have 1 unit of graveguard or black knights per 1,000 points, 1 unit of crypt horrors or fellbats per 1,000 points, up to 3 corpse carts. Up to 1 unit of spirit host per cairn wraith or 2 she banshees. If your general is
That's interesting.
How so?
Just that the spirit hosts are they're an ethereal, basically redirector. So they're often taken as a way to maybe lock up a unit, because if you don't have magical attacks, you can't interact with ethereal. And that's still the case. And so it's interesting that they've made them a little more difficult to take by locking them to Cairn Wrath or Tomb Banshees. So that's cool.
Okay, that's fair.
You can't just spam an army of ethereal if you want it. So that's good.
Okay, and then well, I mean, ethereal's I think much better now. Like magical attacks are very accessible. Like very accessible.
Much more common. Yep.
Much more common. Okay, and then up to rare, you can have 1 unit of Varghese per 1,000 points, up to 2 black coaches. The new black coach is not fitting on that old black coach base, mate. Let me tell you, it doesn't fit on his actual current base.
It is scaled to it is a true scale black coach, and it is very large. Although I have seen people put them on chariot bases and do some creative cutting. You have to edit the new black coach significantly to make it fit. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So then the Terrageist, so you can have up to 2 black coaches. Sorry, Terrageist?
Terrageist.
Geist? Okay, Geist. I say Geist. Right, but up to 1 of them anyway. Or a Varghulf per 1,000 points. Up to 1 unit of Blood Knights per 1,000 points. And then 1 unit of Hex Wraiths or Cairn Wraiths for every Tomb Banshee taken. Okay. All right. So how do you feel about
that? I feel very good about that list. That is cool. I like that they really they limited it. Like that they've actually put like a lot more constraints on this list. I would have loved to see a lot more of the army list look like this. Now, of course, as we get into the nitty gritty, we'll see what is fair or unfair in the limitations. But it is good that they did attempt to like control, armies being very, very skewed by the looks of it. Just at a very first blush. There's a lot of the per 1,000 points modifier, but they didn't make those 0 to 3. They made them 0 to 1. So that means that they're limited to 0 to 2, which is a meaningful restriction. So that's great.
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of the really interesting ones, because I think this is sensationally popular, popular. So yeah, I would expect this to be poured over. I think this would be really fun. Okay, we're going to move on. We're just going to keep going. I'll tell you what, one I'm particularly excited about: Ogres. My first Warhammer Fantasy Battle army. Were ogres. So there's one gutting bit of info on the ogres, but anyway, 1 tyrant or slaughtermaster per 1,000 points for your characters, and you can have multiple bruisers, butchers, hunters, and firebellies. Now you cannot mount a tyrant. You can mount a tyrant on a Stonehorn or a Thundertusk, but not a Mournfang.
Interesting.
And that,
could you before?
You never could before. No. Although OG Forge World fans will remember the ogre that they sold that was on like a Rhinox.
Yeah.
Which was legit. But I just because they've done some really nice kind of given a lot of options in some of the other Grand Army books, and I would have loved to have seen that as an option. That's an easy sell. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but remember, this is for your old collection, right?
Of course.
So they don't want you to come up with anything new.
Well, then where's my ogre on a Rhinox, baby? Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you, maybe they'll give that to us. We'll see.
All right. Well, I had that model, by the way. It's gorgeous. I don't know where it ever went. It was somewhere and then it just went, but whatever.
I don't have it.
No. Okay, so then for core, you must have a unit of ogre bulls. That makes sense. Then you can have multiple units of Iron Guts, Noblar Fighters, Noblar Trappers, and Saber Tusk Packs.
Okay.
And then special, Lead Belchers and Yetis, up to 1 unit of Man-Eaters per 1,000 points, 1 unit of Morfang Cav per 1,000 points, 1 Heavy Chariot chosen from the following list per 1,000 points of an Iron Blaster or a Scrappo Launcher. A cannon. You can have a big cannon. And then for rare, Thunder Tusk Riders, 1 unit of Thunder Tusk Riders per 1,000 points, 1 unit of Stone Riders per 1,000 points, and 3 Gorges and a Giant. A Giant! Which is good. And then Bellowers and Musicians, a special rule. Rather than using instruments, most ogre musicians belong to special caste known as Bellowers. As the name implies, a bellows instrument is their voice and lungs, which they can make incredible noise even if the other ogres find it musical. And then Battle Standard Bearer could be a single bruiser is the Battle Standard Bearer. So you happy with everything that made it over?
Yeah. I just...
R.I.P. Grecius.
R.I.P. what?
Greasus Goldtooth.
Yeah, Greasus is gone. And the guy with there's a cool character with the scythe. There's the slaughter guy who was pulling the
Scrag.
Scrag, yeah. All of which are available. Greasus is the only guy you can't get. But that's okay. Again, I'm totally okay without there being special characters. I think just looking at this, it would be really interesting to see where Ogre Kingdoms fall on points levels. So we'll get obviously in the more detail another day. But because these guys, the other thing is like Ogre Kingdoms immediately become like a bit of a red flag army. Just because having the everything has multi wounds, everything's monstrous. When you don't have step up, that means that it's hard to take away their ability to fight you back because you've got to do a lot of damage to them.
Yeah, I really want to get into the nitty gritty with step up because there's been like a lot of confusion online. I've seen people doing so. I'm just going to quick TLDR for some people. The front rank of your unit is the fighting rank. If that unit, and we're just going to in this case say that there's 5 in the fighting rank and 5 in the second rank. If you wipe out all 5 in the front rank, the 5 in the second rank can make a supporting attack still. They don't count as wiped out because you have this is. Anyway, what we'll do is I
like the way you're talking, and by the way, I misread things all the time, even when I've read it multiple times. So like I like that you would still get your like fighting rank supporting attacks, but I seem to recall it being different. That's all.
We're gonna anyway. We'll do a deep dive. We'll deep dive it. Deep dive it. Anyway, that doesn't really matter. Anyway, but like Val's pointing out, the reason then that something like Demigryph Knights is so particularly scary versus something like normal Knights is because they have a lot of wounds in the front rank. So you've got to do a lot to remove their ability to strike back effectively. Is what we're talking about, which is really healthy. Exactly. Super good point. And I do think that Monstrous Infantry, Monstrous Cavalry is going to be a real problem. Because of that.
And the ogres have a lot of it. Yep.
They do have a lot. It's pretty good. All right. So next up, Lizard. Oh, we've done Lizardmen. Yeah. Done Lizardmen.
Yeah.
So then Demons of Chaos.
Yes.
Demons of Chaos.
This will be interesting.
This will be interesting. I haven't looked at this either. So we're doing this together, bud. You ready? Okay. Let's go. So for characters, you got up to 1 Greater Demon of Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, or Tzeentch in the whole army. Up to 1 Demonic Herald of Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzeentch per unit with the same demonic alignment. Ooh. And then up to 1 Demon Prince per 1,000 points. Okay, and then for core, if your general is
cool.
Okay, if your general is a demon of Khorne, then it's Bloodletters, Fleshhounds, maybe taken as core choices. If you're a demon of Nurgle, it's Plague Bearers and Nurglings. If you're a demon of Slaanesh, it's Demon of Seekers. And if you're a demon of Tzeentch, Pink Horrors, Blue Horrors, Brimstone Horrors may be taken as core. And then just Chaos Furies. just Chaos Furies. They'll work for anyone. And then it's special. You can have all of those things. So Bloodletters, Fleshhounds, multiple units, Plague Bearers, Nurglings, Demonette Seekers, Pink Horrors, Blue Horrors, Brimstone Horrors. And if your general is Demon of Khorne, then you can have Blood Crushers, special choices. If you've got Demons of Nurgle, you can have Beasts of Nurgle and Plague Drones. If you've got Demon of Slaanesh, you can have Fiends, Hellflayers, Seeker Chariots. Oh my God, a Slaanesh army right now would look so good with the new sculpts. And then if you've got Demon of Tzeentch, you can have Flamers, Screamers, maybe taking special choices. And then for rare, you can have Blood Crushers, Beasts of Nurgle, Plague Drones, Fiends, Hellflyers, Seeker Chariots, Flamers, Screamers, Burning Chariots, Soul Grinders, and then a skull cannon of corn per 1,000 points. That's pretty fun, actually. So they're going to be very mono demon.
Yes. Also, shout out to Brimstone Horrors, which totally weren't a thing in fantasy.
Wait, hello. Wait, hold on. Wait. Are you sure?
Yeah, Brimstone, 100%. Brimstone Horrors, actually, not only did Brimstone Horrors not exist, but actual blue horrors didn't exist. The split mechanic in 8th edition, anyway, this may have been different in previous editions, but the split mechanic in 8th edition was just a rule. There was really, the only models that you used were pink horrors, and obviously it's the same thing. You just paint pink horrors blue to get blue horrors. But Brimstone Horrors did not exist. They were not a thing at all. No.
Okay, so you're telling me that the rules that they've written so that I can use my old collection includes models that could not have been in my old collection?
That is 100% the case, yes.
This is a weird world we're living in. It's a weird world. Just someone walk into main studio and say, can you all stop being babies? This would be so great.
This would be really helpful.
Okay, hold on. Go on.
Go ahead.
No, you go, bud.
Oh, I was just going to say that, yeah, this is a really interesting, and again, it'll be interesting to see how it holds together. This is going to push, obviously, whichever one of the four gods winds up being the strongest, then we're going to see, from an event meta perspective anyway, we're going to see more of that particular god. But I do like that they built it so that it's a not like a rainbow coalition, that you do have that which god your main god is really
as it should be,
really
right?
important. And you notice something that's not here?
Yeah.
That's fascinatingly not here.
What? Tell me.
There's no allies or mercenaries.
Oh, what, for demons?
For demons, you can't ally in Warriors of Chaos.
Oh, so I specifically don't even read allies because I just assume it's never going to be a thing in any games I play. So.
Yeah, but I mean, it's assumed to be a thing in every other army that you play. But Demons of Chaos, who would make sense, as an allied army to Warriors of Chaos or any other chaosy faction you want to pick. They can't interact at all, which is interesting. But they would choose that.
That is silly. This is.
Did ogres have them? Did ogres have? Yeah, ogres can ally with orc and goblins. Vampire counts can ally with Tomb Kings. Dark elves, I can't remember what they could ally with. Warriors of Chaos in an uneasy relationship.
Lizardmen could do high elves.
That's so cool. But yeah, so anyway, so that's it. Super interesting that they chose. No, these guys can't ally. So that to me is very interesting.
Amazing. Okay. Apparently, Sloppity Barpiper and Spoilspot Scrivener are called out as special heralds. This was just written.
Yeah, with the assumption again. Yeah. Written with the assumption that the lines were not separate. Like that's the whole game. That's why they're on bigger bases. That's why all of this. It is clearly a shift in strategy, not in the core rules. These were meant to interact together for sure.
Okay, so Skaven. Whoa. Oh boy. Okay, it's up to Skaven. So okay. I think this is going to be the spiciest one. I think maybe, I don't know which is the most popular, but Skaven. Anyway, for characters, you can have one Skaven Warlord or Greyseer per 1,000 points. You can have one Clan Scryer, Warlock Engineer, Clan Eshin Master Assassin, or Clan Pestilence Plague Priest per 1,000 points. And you can have multiple Skaven Chieftains. Okay? And then for core, you can have up to one unit of Store Vermin per 1,000 points. You must have a unit of one Clan Rats per 1,000 points. So in 2,000 point match, you're going to have two. And then you can have multiple Night Runners, Giant Rats, and Rat Swarms. Right? And then for special, you have Gut Runners, up to 2 units of Rat Ogres per 1,000 points, up to 1 unit of Plague Monks per Clan Pestilence Plague Priest taken, up to 1 unit of Warlock Jezzails per Warlock Engineer taken, and 1 unit of Poison Wind Globadiers per Clan Scryer Warlock Engineer taken. And then for rare, 1 Hell Pit per 1,000 points. And then in your army includes a Warlock Engineer. You can take for every 1,000 points 1 Doom Wheel or a Warp Lightning Cannon, or maybe both. I think for every 1,000 points you could take a Doom Wheel and a Warp Lightning Cannon, which is pretty dope.
Yep. Yeah, it's not or. Yep.
Yeah, and then if your army includes one or more clan pestilence plague priests, you can have one plague claw catapult. I know, I got that so wrong. And then one unit of plague censer bearers. And these guys can ally with warriors of chaos.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Very cool. Again, I like that they're through the composition, they're sort of forcing a theme as well. In the army, which is great. I love it when the army selections are sort of pushed by lore reasons. So that's really great.
Yeah.
Storm Vermin are in core, which is great. 0 to 1 of them. Where are slaves?
Well, they're clan rats now.
Interesting. That makes some sense.
Yeah. I mean,
considering slaves were just cheap, like the same model but cheaper clan rats, that makes some sense.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I don't know if they're being bassed or if they're just like, this is just the same thing.
Yep. Interesting though. Very interesting.
Very, very interesting. Listen, none of this is as interesting about what I'm about to read. My
he's
lovely
excited, everybody.
erstwhile find. A real army, the Chaos Dwarfs. Oh, okay, so for characters, you can have one Sorcerer Prophet. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do Warriors of Chaos. Am I? Fuck! I'm doing this, baby. Right, one Sorcerer Prophet or Infernal Castellan per 1,000 points. One Bull Centaur Turok and a unit of Bull Centaur for every unit of Bull Centaur renders taken. You can have a multiple Demon Smith Sorcerers, Infernal Seneschals, and, this is so I'm excited about this, Hobgoblin Khans. Yes, absolutely, yes. And then it gets even cooler. One Black Hawk boss. Yes. Okay. And then for core, you must have one unit of Infernal Guard. Then you can have multiple units of Hobgoblin Cutthroats, and you can have up to one Black Hawk mob in your core. Oh boy. And then for special, you can have multiple Infernal Ironsworn, Sneaky Gits, Kadai Fireborn, and Bull Centaur renders. Then you can have one Iron Demon per 1,000 points. You can have one more machine chosen from the list below per 1,000 points. So Deathstreaker Rocket or Magma Cannon. I haven't read the Deathstreaker yet, but I'm hoping it works the same as the Empire one, because the Empire one is hilarious. Like, it's one of my favorite units.
I'm hoping for a little less hilarity. Yeah, but okay, yeah.
Are you planning on taking is it 2 per 1,000?
What the Hell?
I think it's
Hellstorm rocket launcher.
Yeah.
I'm probably not even going to use it.
No, but I want you to play a game where you do take max.
Take 2? I think, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna take 1, you probably should take 2, just because you need as many swings of the pinata as possible. But neither here nor there.
I want that and magical vortexes. You're just like, and the opponent's like, what is happening? You're like, I don't know.
What is even happening? you just threw so many frisbees at me and literally nothing happened. What is going on?
Busy work, baby. Right, okay, anyway. So you can have Deathstreaker rocket launcher or a magma cannon per 1,000 points. And then you can have, oh my God, I'm so excited by this, up to 2 hobgoblin bolt throwers per 1,000 points. Fucking get it.
That is just an AOS. That's just an AOS model.
They don't exist in AOS either.
Yeah, they do. In the freaking Uruk High orcs have a bolt thrower.
You're talking about the Cruel Boys. They're orcs.
Cruel Boys have a bolt thrower.
No, they're orcs with them.
Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. I guess you could kick my shit. Anyway, it's kind of cool, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
Because to me, Khans and hobgoblins always have to have the the pointy hat with the little fur. Like, it's just so good. Anyway, right. In rare, one unit of. I'm so excited reading this. I can't get my words out. Great. For rare, up to 1 unit of hobgoblin wolf riders per hobgoblin Khan. And then
those Hobgoblin Wolf Riders are AOS models. They look like hobgoblins. They are hobgoblins on wolves. They're beautiful.
Yeah, like you don't know this because but they released them in the last Gloomspite Gits book. Those Hobgoblin Wolf Riders. They have 0 keyword interaction with any unit in the army. Zero.
Yep.
Like they just exist, and they've never once featured, and no one's ever bought them. They're like, oh yeah, I'll take these anyway.
Perhaps they were supposed to be the plastic kit for the Chaos Dwarves, and then they decided to change strategy.
100%. Anyway, and then you can have one war machine chosen from the following: Dreadquake Mortar and the Hell Cannon. Listen, chat, I know people, all my Chaos Dwarf bros at home, I know that, like, no Kadai Destroyer, but also the Kadai Destroyer never had a model anyway, so, like, it was just always a dream in our hearts that's gone,
Yeah.
so that's fine.
It's a bummer, and, I mean, I do have such a beautiful 3D printed Kadai Destroyer. It's one of my favorite models, like, genuinely. It's from, I never remember, the Lost Kingdoms. And it's beautiful, and I'm sad about it. But you know what? There's so much flavor in this list. Black Orc mobs, hot, like being in here, like having Black Orcs. That's a throwback to the original OG army list of Chaos Dwarves. The fact that again they've added a unit that was never a unit, Hobgoblin Bolt Throwers. As far as I know, maybe that's something. Maybe that's a throwback to the old list. Someone can shout that out at me. I'm pretty sure that was never a thing.
It wasn't.
So
it wasn't a thing.
Well, it wasn't a thing in Tamarcon, but it may have been a thing in like 5th edition and when they had an army book, and it may have been a White Dwarf unit or something. Like it's possible. But to me, that stands out as like the Cruel Boys Bolt Thrower is what they probably just didn't realize those weren't like hobgoblins.
also shout out to my man Ewan, who was running. So when I went to the open day, the Old World Open Day, I got my intro game played by a lovely young man called Ewan, who had a Cult of the Lamassu mug. That he was rocking, and I didn't. And there's no Lamassu on here either, so he's crying into that cup today. Let me tell you.
Well, let's quickly look at mounts. Really, Lamassu didn't make it? I can't believe that.
Well, I don't know if Lamassu did or didn't make it. I was just throwing that out there. Infernal Guard Commanders, Torok, Khans, Giant Wolf. No, it doesn't even look like there are mounts. Kadai.
No, he's here. He's enough of a mount that he got his own unit card. So
Lamassu's nice.
Down here. Yeah.
Okay. All right, but you can't take a single Lamassu. Must be in a relationship with a rider.
Yeah, the character mounted on a Lamassu is +3 wounds.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, chat, I think that's time. We're going to wrap that up. That is us. That's us done. So, pretty interesting day, exciting day. I think
super cool.
I think there's going to be a lot of feelings. I think that's going to be really relevant. I think there's going to be a lot of feelings kicking around today. A lot of people excited about their stuff. Other people gutted. Some stuff is missing. And then everyone feeling a little bit unsure because of just how, oppressively, forcefully they made the statement that, these are not legal and those sorts of things. So I think there's going to be a lot of conversation today.
I would say that they did stash their preamble in a place like Warhammer players barely read the actual rules. So that's so it's they're stashed below. This document allows you to play Chaos Wars for Warhammer Fantasy Battles range games using the rules from Warhammer The Old World. To use the contents of this document, you will need a copy of the Warhammer The Old World rulebook and Ravening Hordes. If people read that far, that's as far as anyone reads. Maybe they're not going to go to that second paragraph. So and almost is that the same font? Anyway, while people might continue to be upset, I think it is so imperative that the independent event community, because again, we, the people who run events, the people who organize tournaments, are leaders of the community. And if they just choose to include these armies and the people who play them and who are excited about these ones, because a lot of these armies are the most popular factions in, Warhammer Total War. They're some of the most popular factions from Warhammer Fantasy Battles back in the day. Mm-hmm. You want to include these people, just include them, and then they won't have tournament data to balance the game unless they actually start looking at these armies too. I think as long as we just ignore them and we show them that we're excited to play the game and that we're so happy to have these rules and we want to use them, if we show them that, then eventually GW will reverse course. This whole thing is reversing course. They're reversing course on literally blowing up the old world. And so like, they didn't, we don't come back from the apocalypse just to get Thanos snapped. So please, in your gaming groups, advocate for these things. Don't just take your ball, go home. Don't be so upset that you stop painting or being excited for the game. Just use the rules. If we use them, they will be included, right? And that's my view on it.
And I have nothing to add. I'm with you. That's the square-based philosophy. Stay #square blessed. And then exciting day. If you've enjoyed the video, obviously do leave some comments, like, subscribe. Don't share it into any local Facebook groups or international Facebook groups or, into your Discord or anything like that. But thank you to everyone on the Squarebase Patreon for supporting the show, where we have a Discord that's pretty healthy. And I imagine, I haven't gone in there yet today, it's going to be popping off, as they say.
Yep.
Which is going to be fun. So thanks very much for all the support and love. We're on the road to 10,000 now, Val. Finally... People have started to actually subscribe and watching the show, so please do keep that up, which is nice.
Absolutely. So, thank you so much for those who have subscribed. It means a lot. It's really, really fun to see numbers go up. It makes you feel good about putting time and effort into things. So thank you.
It does. All right, loads of love and goodbye.